wonderful stuff, very powerful tool. I'm going to start sharing my screen with everyone. And once again, my name is Steven Schwinger, and I'm today going to be going over the commercial property management course suite, as well as the RealPage fuel asset modeling solution as well. Going to give a pretty complete overview from a platform level, but I'm going to have to move pretty quick. So certainly we hope that you're going to be interested in a more defined demonstration that we could spend more time with everyone. The property management suite that you're looking at right now, I've already logged into, obviously. This is completely user rights and roles driven. You'll notice when I logged into what's called a dashboard. The same concept with the AIM platform. Dashboards are meant to provide relevant information to the individual user. Dashboards, you could have as many as you require within the platform. These are user configurable and customizable. So once again, building dashboards for the access of the stakeholder that wants relevant information upon logging in. You could see my dashboard is loaded with just a few KPIs here at the top of the screen. Once again, this is information that I require to view upon logging in. You could update this information. It's pulling in real time from data within the platform itself. You could view the dashboards within a grouping of portfolio level property attributes, as well as a single asset. The dashboards themselves are completely, you could drill down into. You could also define the periods that you're comparing against, as well as the trending associated with them. KPIs are stock loaded within the platform, and you can easily add a component, pick the KPI that you like, and save it onto your dashboard. For a commercial property manager, I picked this particular dashboard that I built to show that you could also bring in some operational reports to help you with your daily management of tenants in your commercial buildings. The first component here is a critical date snapshot, giving me access to all the tasks that either I assign to myself or someone is assigned to me. Anything in blue is a hyperlink down to the core source transaction or record level. You're also noticing here as I scroll down, it's important for me to see a lease expiration report on my dashboard, as well as a recovery leakage. So this is a valuable tool where I could see the expenses associated with the properties that I'm managing, as well as the comparable budget variance, but more importantly, what I build out in my recoveries and what my recovery loss is. A powerful glance snapshot of your recovery leakage. Some of the other items here, if I'm managing service requests associated with the assets I'm managing in my portfolio, I have a snapshot into visibility. You're also able to bring in any reports that are stocked within your platform. Most importantly, accounts receivable aging report, as well as even setting up some pie charts or bar graphs, depending how the user wants to consume the information. All the information within the platform that you're seeing here, of course, could be reflected in the AIM product as you're viewing dashboards at the asset management level. Another example would be if I'm looking at a rent roll for a particular property or group of properties, you could easily drill down into the lease. A little bit about general navigation of the commercial property management financial suite shows you that with rights and roles, you could operate at the top tier level, as well as easily navigate down to your entity or asset levels, all based on user rights and roles. You'll also notice that there's a quick bookmark setting here. So your users, we could really drive that user experience and increase user adoption by giving them the efficiencies to navigate where they need to very easily. So bookmarking enables them to do that. So if I'm someone that wants to see leases very quickly, I could easily navigate to leases, or if I'm selecting bills to pay, for example. We do also have a global search feature. You could easily load in the information into this field and hit go. We'll scour the system and render the results on screen. You could also define your search by all the stock data object fields that you could choose from. We do also support a help and support user guide embedded within the platform, as well as any user support needs that you have could be done through a live chat. That could be to an accounting support professional or commercial professional as well. You'll notice over here that we have the applications within the commercial property management financial suite. I'm going to go over a few of these core applications within the system pretty quickly. We're going to start off with property management. This is the module, of course, that you would manage your tenant activity, as well as leases, service requests, and property setup. So defining a property, you'll be able to configure the floors, if applicable, as well as the units and those area measurements. The system comes with standard usable and rentable area measurements, as well as 8 user-defined measurements if required. You'll also notice that the menu setting is very easy to navigate. So you can see here in a 3-column format, we have search and find fields that I just mentioned, daily tasks to manage tenant charges and adjustments, receive payments and prepayments. We also offer a tenant portal for your tenants to submit their payments through auto pay or on demand via electronic ACH, as well as submit service requests. The system also is set up to automate invoicing and statements. These could be branded to your company logo, include your logo, and how you want your formatted invoices and statements to appear. And those could push out to the tenant portals. The periodic tasks are really going to center around efficiency and automating billing with scheduled rent features that, of course, are going to be configured to the lease setup, as well as setting up your late fees and configuration on how you want to run them. We also support straight line rent if that's an accounting requirement. And then, of course, we're very strong in managing expenses that are pulling in from the integration from the general ledger into your reconciliation of recoveries and expense pools. Over on the right side of the menu set, of course, you're going to have operational reports like rent rolls, lease expiration reports, lease admin, and I'm going to show you what a lease abstract looks like in a few moments, as well as, and very importantly, managing tenant receivable reports. We know how important collections are, so we provide system standard reports that of course, could be rendered on demand or scheduled. Now, within the platform itself, I'd like to go over the lease information here. You'll notice when I jump into a lease, it's going to pull into what we call a grid and query or a lister screen. Lister screens provide views to the user in the way that they want to see them. Again, we're delivering information easily accessible to the users to help them manage their jobs more efficiently. This example of a lease's lister screen has defined column types within its structure. Those are easily chosen by creating views. You could have as many different views for a record like a lease, or if it's tenants, properties, even on the financial side, it could be AP invoices, journal entries, and you as the user can define what column headings you would like by easily checking the objects. If an object does not appear here, you have the ability to create custom defined user objects and include them in lister screens, as well as customized reports. Going back to the lister screen, you noticed that I'm looking at all of my tenants and I could see what lease type by definition they are, as well as if they're an at-risk, which certainly you could check them off. We know how important it is and the tenant relationship to drive communication with your tenants. So if there is an issue with the tenant, you could always check them off at risk. Then you could run reports that are very easily identifiable to those tenants. Anything in blue is a hyperlink. So if you're looking to drill down into invoices or amendment details, you could do so. And using these particular columns as filtering options, you could easily go to, in this case, a lease that you're looking for. I'm quickly going to go into the information that we abstract from a lease. The summary tab here is going to define, of course, the tenant that's associated with the lease and the lease type and other data fields here, setting up those lease terms with lease start and lease end and the term, amendment details, and defining the occupancy of the lease to the appropriate property and unit, and the rentable and usable area will automatically come in based on the configuration. And if I did have alternate areas, that would be presented here. We're also seeing important dates that we want to track as well. Going back up in the tab lister here, you're going to see contact lists. This is a global contact list, so once you enter a contact once into the platform, you could, of course, pick and choose where they need to be listed. For accounting purposes, you're going to have user-defined labels that are going to give you the ability to set up your tenant charges to ensure that they are coded to the appropriate GL account line items, so you have accurate financial reporting. In this case, I have a triple net lease. These are the 4 charges that I'm scheduling to charge to this particular tenant via grant. I could see the start and end date, the post repeat by, the interval, the monthly amount, and the annual amount in the bill through, and whether or not it's active or inactive. By drilling down into a charge, this is where you're able to set up the scheduling of the billing and address any step-up rents. Leases could be uploaded into the platform, so if you're looking at a large acquisition, the leases can be imported in, or you could set up boilerplates and you could enter the information directly. We do support CPI escalations, and then as a good example, certain items, of course, you could add to a critical date by checking the box, and then you could put in the critical date type, which is configured to your types, as well as setting the due date and a notification date that could go out to the property manager or the main lease contact. Going back up to some of these other items, we do support retail tenants where you could track their sales, configure percent rent charges, as well as configuring customized expense pools to calculate your recoveries based on lease definition of how the calculation needs to be entered. So in this case, once again, triple net lease, if I had another recovery, I'd be able to add them to the lease. And upon editing to the lower level of the configuration, you'll be able to pull in the associated expense accounts that you're pulling from and set any calculation adjustments to deal with base years, cap methods, adjustment factors, and so forth. Terms and conditions allow you to bring in options and clauses. You could upload images here. You could define them by critical dates. In an example here, this is a signage clause, and what I was able to do is copy and paste the appropriate paragraph from the actual physical lease into the clause type record. So as a user, I could easily see that. If I was looking to duplicate a clause that was maybe similar to this, you'll notice that there's duplicate options at all record levels. Security of deposit could be managed here, as well as letters of credits, tracking activities, assigning tasks, making sure that you're appropriately managing certificates of insurance and uploading those images, service requests, and of course, managing tenant improvements. Once all the information here is accounted for within the system, you'll then be able to print an abstract on demand. And an abstract will look as this example does, which I pulled prior to starting the meeting. So this is going to cover all the data fields and the information that I just entered in that lease. Another comment that I'm going to make about property management, once again, is that the system is going to be able to pull in real time, managing expenses from the general ledger when you calculate recoveries. You'll have the opportunity to view those expenses, make adjustments to them, if needed, amortize them over multiple reconciliation periods. Once that is completed and approved, you'll be able to run recoveries either at the portfolio, property, lease, tenant levels. And then once you approve them and post them, the system, once again, I'll give you an example, will generate an automated recovery invoice That will provide your tenant with all the information behind how their calculation was configured. And then by line item and going down to the last page, of course, that will show the estimated billings and then the reconciliation amount. So as I mentioned before, we're completely integrated because the property manager is built into the core code of the financial suite. So that's going to give you the opportunity, of course, to manage the general ledger. Just a little bit of highlights here. As you see, the menu options are set up really the same way as property management, same user interface. You'll see a search and find features here to find journal entries when they need to be edited or viewed. A customized chart of accounts, and all your accounts will be presented here as you define how they are grouped together for financial reporting and other analytical evaluations. We also support mapping of alternate charts of accounts. Managing daily tasks are easy, journal entries and approving those journal entries if you want them routed for approval, access to trial balance and general ledger reports, recurring journal entries. And then we also have where we offer cash and accrual books run simultaneously. You could also set up unlimited number of user-defined books, and of course, process journal entries to those books. Also, soft open and close based on user rights and roles. We have a fully embedded budget platform that fully integrates with the front end solution. All your system standard reports for general ledger will be here, as well as customized financial reports. Accounts payable, of course, is where you'll go to manage and load in vendors. We do have a vendor credentialing team if you want us to lift that burden of credentialing vendors according to your compliance agreements, as well as loading them into the platform and building workflow approvals around them. Managing invoices can be done here directly within the platform. We also have a full spend management suite. So if you want to drive a procure to pay process through an online vendor network, that is also an option. Purchase orders and/or AP invoices can be routed through customized approval policies, as well as encumbered against spend. Your teams could be notified when there's an approval waiting for them. They could log into their approval workbenches. They could view their items that they need to approve. They could view any attachments, encumber against budget, add approvers, and easily approve and decline or view the underlying records. We also offer the ability in accounts payable, if you're looking to third party out your vendor payments, we have a team that is associated with processing vendor payments for you. If you're looking to select your bills to pay and process the payments within the platform, of course, that could be done here by check, electronic ACH, credit card, and wire transfer. The system for ACH could generate an electronic file that could be delivered to your bank. We also have a management fee application to automate the calculation of management fees and post, recurring AP entries, as well as system standard reports. Accounts receivable is a trade accounts receivable if you're billing any third parties for services that you perform, generating AR invoices, as well as we have intercompany accounting and intercompany billing. So if you have any entities that are billing a service to another entity, we could do that within the system in a single workflow. Within accounts receivable as well, you have the open and close of the subledger and the system generated standard reports. Cash management is where you're going to go and, of course, manage your bank accounts, any miscellaneous deposits, as well as reconciliation of bank and credit cards. The system also comes with standard reports, as I'd mentioned, as well as you have the ability to create customized financial reports. You also have the ability to go into a report center, which is a central location where your team could access the reports that they have the proper rights and roles to do so. So as I come into my report center, I'm able to see my favorite reports, as well as I could pick and choose what application I would like to pull different reports from. You could memorize reports that you could run behind the scenes and come in when they're completed upon notification and access them. You could schedule reports to be delivered to stakeholders, as well as you could export reports into drill down format, PDF, CSV, as well as Excel. Now, rendering a report on screen is easy. By system design of the report, you could prompt your users on what filtering options you require them to put in. I'm just going to quickly bring up a financial report for a property. And this is automatically, in this case, going to come up in HTML format. This is a single property, a simple income state budget comparison. I see month ending and year ending. Along the rows, this is your customized reports, chart accounts, as well as account groups and account descriptions. Anything in blue you could drill down into to the source transaction. If you're capturing any images at the source transaction level, your teams would be able to view them. You could also print this into PDF, drop it into Excel, and as well email this report on the fly. A big differentiator between RealPage Commercial Property Management and Financial Suite, once again, is the ability to customize your own financial reports. Whether you're starting a report from new, editing an existing report, or even editing and duplicating and renaming. When you go into customizing a financial report, it's going to bring you into a report writer. From here, you'll see the tabs that will help you write the report by naming it, defining the columns and row formation, and then pulling in the row information. With upfront configuration, you're able to pull in any different account groups within your system, as well as predictive typing, defining what it is you're looking for and including it within your row format. If I had many different items here, you could just drag and drop and sort the way you need to. Column definition is going to allow you to build any number of columns within the report by defining the column type first, and that will give you different options to pick and choose what it is you're looking to do with the column. So in that report that I just rendered on screen, it had the account number and name in the same column. If you want to change that, and maybe you don't want to share the account number and you just want the account name, easily you could do so. Simply by just moving over to columns and picking the different loaded column types enables you to do different configurations with the particular column information. So for example, in this case, this was an actual versus budget. Maybe I want it to be an actual versus reforecast or forecast. So upon picking that, I could then pull in my uploaded forecast and I could change the dynamics of the particular report. By doing column summaries of calculations, you're also able to define, if you want, the ability to do any conditional highlighting, rainbow coloring, trend indicating. If you have a question about what some of these options are, the system is extremely intuitive. You just open up the question mark and it will give you a clear definition of what it is that this function would perform. You could build in computations for reports, as well as different filtering options, prompting those filters. You could roll up reports into location groups to do portfolio reporting, as well as formatting the report, setting permissions, who has access and who's excluded, as well as next steps, which would allow you to easily put it on a dashboard in a report group or name it as a favorite. These are just some of the items of the Commercial Property Management Financial Suite. Certainly in a more detailed demonstration, we could take deeper dives. There's also other modules that you could license, job costing, investment accounting, fixed assets, managing debt, and other platforms. So what I'm going to do next with the last 5 minutes or a few more is I'm going to go into the asset modeling solution. So this really gives stakeholders the transparency for sound decision making as you're building out valuation reporting. So whether it's an offering memorandum that you're looking at for key acquisitions to dispositions of assets that you're currently holding. It could also be repositioning or restructuring debt, as well as continuous valuation reporting that you're required to do. In this example that I'm sharing on screen, you're going to notice that it's a very simple property that I built a model for. It's a commercial office center that's 8,000 square feet. At the time that we're looking to purchase it, it's 100% occupied. I see my purchase price as well as my hold period and my sales price. And excuse me, let me go back. I just want to go back to the main setting there. And let me go real quick to the overview. There we are. Okay. So the sales price as well as the unlevered IRR without debt as well as with debt. And then we're going to come to a return summary where we're going to see that IRR position here, the profit of the hold period, as well as the equity multiplier, and then the IRR contribution from cash flow, as well as the sale of the asset, both for unlevered and levered, and a little detail here of the purchase and sale. This, I'll show you a more detailed screenshot of this in a moment. Down below, you're looking at the cash flow that I built in creating this asset valuation. So I'm looking at this from a yearly standpoint. Certainly it could be quarterly or monthly. I'm looking at it at a high level. If I open up these carrots, I could get to a more detailed representation of this NOI and leasing and capital. From this standpoint, as you look at my cash flow, you could see the outflow of the purchase, the inflow of the loan assumption, as well as my ongoing cash flow from operations. At the end of the hold period, I have my sale and the retirement of debt. The method that I built this cash flow was pulling information from my rent roll. So with tight integration to the commercial property management side, you're able to manage that connection and pull the tenant information directly into the platform. From the standpoint of looking at an acquisition where likely you're looking at an offering memorandum, you could easily create a new lease and do what's called a quick input. And I'll give you another representation of that right here. The quick input will allow you to capture the information as well as any step-ups and any expense recovery that you have to address or adjustments to income, tenant improvements, leasing commissions, and market forecast. Upon creating the revenue from your tenant rent roll, whether fully pulling from your commercial property management system or quick or detailed inputs, you're also able to address other inflows associated with other revenue. This is just a simple example of pulling in some other revenue for parking by square foot, as well as addressing any recovery rules that will affect revenue, and then pulling in the operating and capital expenditures. So here I'm pulling these mainly in by account group. You could do this based on account group or line itemization for operating and capital, and then assumption of debt as well. And if you are looking at the hold period to define a restructuring of debt before the sale, of course, you could enter in a new loan amount and make sure that you're capturing all debt assumptions throughout the life cycle of the valuation. The purchase and sale will give you the ability to do a comparison side by side. This is interactive, meaning that if I were to edit this information and assuming at sale that I was looking at a different assumption of cap rate, and if I'm going to lower my cap rate, it's automatically going to update my sales price from 1.369 to 1.418. So all the information here is feeding off each other in an interactive method within the model platform itself. The system is also going to provide system-generated or standard reports. You also have the ability to customize reports, put them in reporting packages. as well as addressing any market assumptions that are dealing with general assumptions in your modeling platforms, as well as leasing assumptions to deal with how you're looking at rent, tenant improvements, commissions, rent steps, vacancies, bad debt, debt assumptions, and then valuation assumptions. And at the tail end here, you're able to also build sensitivity analyses where you could run your models in the appropriate sensitivity that you choose, and then you could do comparative reporting as well. From a standpoint, this is an extremely collaborative tool as well. So what you notice when I go to the home page, these are all the models that I built and have access to that I'm managing. With your stakeholders, you could generate a work group and you could work on these models simultaneously, as well as you could send copies of these models to either internal or outside stakeholders via email. When they receive the model, they're actually going to the email, they're actually able to open up the platform. If you allow them to do any updates, they could perform their updates, save the model, and then you could come back in and see those results. So truly a collaborative tool for all your stakeholders to provide transparency, to enable them to make more sound decision-making within the asset modeling tool. So with that, I believe I'm running out of time, so I'm gonna hand it back over to Ash, our moderator here, and I thank you for your time, and certainly we would appreciate the opportunity to do a more defined, detailed demonstration.
Thank you so much. So we're going to start with open up with the Q&A portion of our event. And I see we have a lot of questions that came through during your presentation. But before we kick off, for anybody that would like to submit a question, please do so using the Q&A button located at the bottom of your page. And or if you'd like to receive more information, please click on the polling option, again, located within the nav bar to receive more information. And we're happy to connect everyone. So let's just kind of kick off. Before we kind of dive in, can we just quickly go over, we have a lot of people that are attending. Your platform, does it, on an asset level, does it touch commercial office, multifamily, industrial, retail, or is it hyper specific to only one asset category?
Good question. So the commercial property management addresses any commercial asset type, whether it's industrial, retail, office. The multifamily platform is actually a different front end called One Site Leasing and Rents, which is our flagship RealPage multifamily solution. It fully integrates within the financial platform that I just shared.
Great.
Same, Ash. We cover all the property types.
That's awesome.
Senior, student, storage, land, hospitality, everything.
That's
correct.
Awesome. So multifamily owner operators, developers, to student housing, to commercial office, and others.
Correct.
Correct.
Awesome. Listen, like we're in this COVID era of pandemic era of real estate. You don't have to preach to me on the benefits of innovation and technology in the built world in real estate, but we'd love to hear from you and from some of the stories you have from some of your owner operator clients. Why is this now the best time to invest in real estate technology?
Yeah, so I'll take that from the AIM side. We're seeing a lot of owners, operators asking how they can get better insights in and manage their risk when it comes to tenants actually paying rent. Because a lot of tenants aren't paying rent right now. And so this is one of those times, right, when if you look back even a year ago, geez, 6 months ago, capital was freely flowing, assets were appreciating, the need to augment your processes wasn't as readily apparent as it is today. You put some stress on the market and you put some stress on real estate, and the need to be able to answer questions and understand and manage your risk quickly is essential to you guys being successful. And so having a system that collects and aggregates all of your data into one place where you can actually go in there and manage your risk and answer those questions quickly is critical for any company that wants to come out of this on top.
Yeah, perfect. And from the commercial property management side, we know that aggregation of data is so important. And it's just as important to make sure that teams on the ground have efficient ways to process information accurately in a very timely manner. So as you're aggregating that data ultimately to the AIM platform in this case, it's happening very quickly. So the commercial property management really gives the opportunity for your on-ground property managers as well as accounting staff to perform, of course, their responsibilities so you can aggregate that data in a timely manner.
That's awesome. There's a couple, I'm going to jump into the audience Q&A. There's a lot of questions here. So let's kind of just jump into this. Who does AIM see as their primary target client? I think you guys pretty much just answered that. So, so we won't jump into that one. But Rana asks, can this connect to other property management softwares, or is it only applicable to RealPage PM?
We connect with everything.
Everything.
Yep.
Which is great, because an earlier question came regarding does it connect with VTS, and during your presentation you mentioned VTS by name, so that's pretty awesome as well.
Yeah, we actually happen to have a bidirectional integration with VTS in place today through a couple different mechanisms, but we're able to connect with any system. We're technically able to connect with any system that has the ability to get data out or push data in.
Awesome. And then, so we have another question from Ruben. Can you share with us workflow tools you mentioned?
Yeah, let me just, if you can enable sharing, I will share.
Okay, I'm gonna just do that now.
And I'll just show you, Ruben, I'll quickly show you the, and I can spend some more time with you at another time if you want. I'll just quickly show you the.
Yeah, let's do that later. Ruben,
okay.
Thanks for the question. Let's jump take that question offline so you guys can have a more intimate kind of walkthrough of the sharing workflow tool as well. We have a UK related question. Are you from Mark Jones? Are you guys in the UK?
Yeah, so we are. We have a number of assets and funds in the UK. We are in flight with our first UK-based manager. All the other managers are and clients are US-based, but have UK assets and funds.
Awesome. And let's keep going here. There's a lot of questions here. What changes have you made to make the system in the world of COVID-19?
We put a mask on the front end is the first thing that we did. Not much, to be honest with you. The big thing that we're seeing is more exposure into, and helping clients develop custom receivables aging reports, right? So they can look at their receivables and plan and manage their risk a little bit better. But this is what the system's designed for. So there really aren't a lot of fundamental changes we've made because of the COVID situation.
And then Michelle asked the question, if we are starting a blank on technology, can property and lease information be inputted directly to the platform?
We can import that through some standard Excel templates, but you'd want to have a system, even Excel, which anyone who knows me will know I'm very fond of saying it's not a source system. It could serve as a source system while you're getting the rest of your stack set up.
Awesome. And then Mark Jones again, does AIM cater to residential property in the UK?
Yeah, we can.
Yeah.
And so both on the multifamily side and on the single family home rental side as well.
Awesome. And by residential, I'm assuming, Mark, you mean multifamily, correct? I'm assuming multifamily. Ruben, that would be, Ruben replied, that would be great. Contact me offline, great. And let's just have a couple more questions here. How can CRE professionals leverage technology to monitor and manage risk and protect their assets in today's world?
Well, I think from the AIM perspective, that's sort of the goal of the platform, right? Is to build and have a system that aggregates all of your data from your disparate sources, right? And if you think about even someone who is leveraging a single instance of a property management tool still has other systems that they use in their day-to-day operations. They need to collect and aggregate that data to report off it. And that's, at the end of the day, this is a risk management tool, right? You're able to look at what you have in your portfolio, identify where things need to be addressed, address those in real time, and be able to analyze that information as it flows back into the system.
Yeah. And then James Brown asked regarding cost, and James, thank you for that question. Again, anything product related, we will dive into later. We will connect everybody to have a more meaningful conversation regarding product and cost, and regarding fuel or AIM or others. But guys, love to kind of get your thoughts. You guys see a lot. Your owner operator partners from every single asset class. You guys see a lot. What are some of the biggest challenges that you're seeing in the market today? And obviously your platform is aiming to solve these problems, but how do your platforms address those challenges that your owner operators are seeing?
Yeah, I think probably the biggest, which has been going on for a couple of years, and I think it really accelerated here in the last 6-8 weeks, is the demands for data and information from investors and constituents is pervasive, and it's coming really fast, much faster than it used to come. And a lot of consultants are now starting to question the fee managers on the technology and systems that they're using to collect and validate and aggregate and analyze the real estate assets that are within a particular portfolio. And you think about a separately managed account, you get a pension plan. They want to know that the companies that they're entrusting with their funds have systems and processes in place to make sure they're as efficient and effective as possible. And so I think, certainly on the data demand side, that's a pretty broad, generic answer. Again, in the last 6 weeks, we're seeing an awful lot of receivables information. And we're seeing a lot of challenges in trying to understand what the real estate market's going to look like 6 months, 12 months from now, right? You can look at individual asset classes. You can look at retail and understand that there are going to be some challenges in retail, right? I think on the big box side, and in those large mega malls, there's going to be challenges there. I think the smaller grocery store, drugstore anchored strip malls are probably going to fare a little bit better. But what happens with office, right? Everyone right now on this call is working from home. What happens when those restrictions are lifted and everyone is able to go back to work? Are you still crammed into cubes and everything is small? Do companies move to all offices? Do they have a split workforce? And I think understanding what that's going to look like is still evolving. And I don't know that anyone really knows how it's going to play out. I think we're all going to have to be pretty dynamic with how we handle it.
I agree. Steve, do you have anything to add to that?
Once again, really from the day-to-day core commercial property management and accounting side, really looking to drive the efficiency of the workflows and provide visibility to the stakeholders within the platform. Once again, so that your asset management, your investors, your other stakeholders are looking at very timely and accurate information so that they could respond more quickly to the challenging market conditions that it looks like we're facing.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
There's one more question that came in, and thank you. And it's regarding. I'm gonna a couple of questions came in this way, but I'm gonna repurpose the question, rephrase the question in a more tasteful way. How are we're all about integration, with API calls and push pulls and all that stuff. And we won't get too technical on the tech stuff. But can you walk, like right now, the conversation is about tenant engagement. The question is a tenant engagement question, right? Today, owners, regardless of asset class, have to be fully engaged with their tenants, whether it's commercial office to multifamily assets globally, right? We have to communicate openly. What are your thoughts, and how are your platforms engaging with these new tenant experience platforms? Is there a tenant experience like feature within the platform that enables owners to directly communicate with the tenants?
Not native within the AIM application, but that's something that could be integrated into the AIM application. RealPage on the multifamily side has a whole host of tenant engagement systems and processes that we've built and deployed all over the place.
That's awesome. Yeah. I know a lot of owners actually use that platform. So yeah, love it. And one more question before we kick off to our next presentation. if anyone has any questions, how can they get a hold of you guys?
Email is going to be the best. I'm Colin.Kovas, COLINKOVAS @realpage.com.
That's awesome. And then Steve?
I'm Steven, STEVEN .Schwinger, SCHWINGER @realpage.com.
That's awesome. Gentlemen, thank you guys very, very much. Really appreciate it.
Hey, Ash, thank you. And thanks everyone who joined. And if you have any questions, we're all around all the time, every day.
Awesome.
Now.
Same.
Thank you,
Thank
guys.
you, everyone.
All right,
Have
thanks.
a good day. Thank you.